maybe it's a good thing to start at the beginning and maybe understand a little more about what space actually is. I think if there's 10 people sitting around this table today and we ask each person, what does space mean to you? You could have 10 different answers or definitions. And I guess for me, the core of my work is always coming back to yourself, and that's where I believe natural leadership differs from conventional or organizational leadership, if you like. So the space within yourself, it's my reference point, and it's how I would choose to define space. So, for example, consider this. If you imagine that most people in modern society are either living in the future, in other words, worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow, worrying about what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes, and living in the past. So in other words, replaying or refocusing on all the information, all the data, all the experiences that you have undergone in your life, and trying to connect the two. So in other words, trying to learn from your experience in order to project or navigate into the future. And there's very, very precious little time to spend in the present moment in modern society. And for me, what the wilderness experience does, and why nature is incredibly important in modern society, is that there's a little bit of distance, a little bit of space between the past and the future, between our imagination and our memory, if you like. And it's in that space that you can literally come home to yourself and make an appointment with life, because it's there that original creative inspiration emerges. You're not influenced by your memory, you're not influenced by your future. Both of those worldviews or landscapes will define, and the inspiration will emerge because of them, but not due to them. So spending some empty time or empty moments, if you like, in nature creates this sacred space, or which is for me is crucial in understanding the direction of modern leadership. It's coming back home to yourself first. The relationship that we have with nature is fundamental to our sense of well-being, or a sense of stillness, if you like, in the modern world. And we are sitting at Schokland in the Netherlands, and this is a remarkable place, and it's one of the areas in Holland that I feel most connected. We've just walked around a museum, and I touched the tusk of a woolly mammoth that died here some 11,000 years ago. And for me, that immediately rolls the clock back. It reconnects me with the sense of nature and the sense of timelessness that's here in the Netherlands. And I refer to a reconnection, not a connection, because I believe it's already there. And this is the landscape in which modern man developed. And since things changed recently in our development or our advancement, the urban man has very little time or very little opportunity to connect with nature, or even come out to these islands and spend a few hours here in this sacred space. So for me, it's crucial to check in with yourself, to slow the pace down, learn from the past, and sort of understand the implications of what has gone on in the world for us to get to our present moment. So in a sense, it's going back in time, and hopefully, I would say, breaking the cycle of not learning from the past, and not discovering how to live at more peace and more a sense of well-being with our natural world. So regardless if you're living in a high-rise building in Amsterdam or in the middle of the Kalahari Desert, I think the concept of nature is universal. My office is in the Kalahari, and I'm blessed enough to have the lions, the elephants, the leopards all around at all the time. But in Amsterdam it's a little different. So finding that moment, having a cup of tea, if you like, with yourself in that space, and treasuring the moment of a sunrise, or perhaps a bird landing on your washing line, or spending some moment listening to your friend or your partner, your husband or your wife, and really listening. So many of us have a conversation and prepare what we're doing in order to reply or to respond. So try this, for example. If you spend a day saying 50% less than you normally would, try that, and you'll be amazed. You'll be empowered by what you say, what you don't say, and how much you discover and learn about it, the other people around you. And silence for me is a cornerstone or keystone of nature, because I can say nothing in, I think, 150 different languages. So yeah, spending time making yourself available to the information and what people are saying and doing around you is a wilderness experience, and they're all around us at all times. The morning spent with Marcel Kampman here at Schokland has been my first experience in Holland to actually visit a museum and visit an archaeological museum and find these old stone tools and old bones and artifacts from time gone past. And for me, coming from Africa, South Africa, we're a very young nation in relation to Europe, for example. So the first time I came to Europe, I stayed in a house that was 300 years old. I saw an old church that was almost 1,000 years old. And for me that was different, because we don't have that feeling of medieval or middle history, if you like. We either have recent history or we have prehistory. And in the Kalahari in Botswana, for example, there's a lot of stone tools that are picked up, and this is one such artifact. This is a stone shard, and it comes from, I would say, the late Stone Age, so possibly 20,000 years old. And this is an artifact that was dropped by an early ancestor of mine, I guess, if you'd like to say that. And for me, what this immediately does is it connects people to the land. And living in modern society, I think that I often say that every generation of people that is born, or perhaps every conversation that is had, every WhatsApp message that's sent, every email that is sent, that is not paying attention to the well-being of the planet, is almost a step away, from this ancient connection that we all have. And connecting that through people, and understanding that people are part of this ancient landscape, as the birds and the elephants and the lions and the woolly mammoths once were, I think is fundamentally important to find our way back to nature and find our way home. And the Bushmen in the Kalahari represent that. They are living Stone Age people, for example. They are living museums, and they're unchanged. They've been living an unchanged lifestyle for close on 40 to 50,000 years, it's estimated. So spending time with traditional Bushmen elders, you really feel that you are going back in time and accessing this ancient wisdom and ancient knowledge that we were once connected to. So I think we're all trying to find our way home in many ways, and visiting the Bushmen and visiting the ancient landscapes of Africa for me is like ground zero, I guess, in that process. Yeah, just to go over what this concept of space is, and how it influences our energy and our connections with people around us, not only people but animals too. And I think it's important to understand that we are all connected. Separateness is an illusion, and how I choose to conduct my day has influence and has consequence over what happens around me, the energy that the day brings, and the actions with the people. And yeah, for me it's a vital part, and perhaps the first layer of space, or the most fundamental space that we have, is the space within ourselves. And that is an area that we can explore inwardly. It's an area that we can explore. It's a non-material understanding of what's going on, and it's no one else knows the space. There's only one set of tracks there, and if you are, the concept of natural leadership is an inward journey first. So you're exploring that sacred space within yourself, and then you'd play it forward. You'd emerge from that into the bigger world, if you like. The Bushmen always say that we live in two worlds. There's the little world, which is the internal one. It exists because we exist. And then there's the big world, which is the external one. And that exists long before we were born and long after we will die. And it's interfacing that space. It's traversing between these two areas that is perhaps the art of living. If you move through them with dignity and ecological dignity, then I believe the energy becomes positive, it becomes empowering, it becomes enlightening. But if you choose to move between the two worlds with, if I say the word arrogance, I guess it could be what it is, then the opposite happens. And for me, with the elephant encounter, I think was an example of that, where I was able to consciously blur the boundaries of my little world and the big world. So I had no idea where my boundary ended and where the elephant's boundary began. And you can see it in the video, I think, where one of us, either myself or the elephant, actually becomes mindful of it. And we are able to step outside that zone, and the elephant charges again for a second time, and then the tension rises, and then we both are able to find the common frequency, if you like, again. So yeah, I think if you're trying to understand, the people around you, and trying to connect meaningfully with the people around you, I think it's necessary to tiptoe through the space between the two worlds, and be alert, be conscious, and be aware of the information that's coming toward you. I've always believed that if you move slower and say less and listen more and listen intently, you can pick up a lot of information about what people are expecting, or perhaps what mood they may be in, or what has happened during the day for that person. And being compassionate and being empathetic towards that space before you barge in and maybe demand something, or ask for something that may not be sustainable. And all this can come from paying attention to nature and spending time on your own in quiet places, listening to birds, listening to the wind, feeling the change of pressure before a rainstorm comes in. Noticing, we just looking at the trees around us, and you can see the tree behind. On the southern side of the tree, on the south-facing side of the tree, the foliage is denser and thicker. So the tree is, in a sense, leaning towards the south. And all that's happening there is, if you imagine that each leaf of a tree is a solar panel, and for the tree to create enough energy to sustain itself, it needs as many solar panels in the right position. And to have that all done, you need the scaffolding and the support system to be in the right position. So the tree grows bigger, taller, and often thicker on the southern side, which is the sun-facing side. So if you're spending a quiet time walking in the fields, walking on the farmlands, and you stop and notice these little things, you'll be pleasantly surprised about how much other information and other signs, subtle signs that you'd never noticed before, come rushing in. And that's where observation comes from, I believe. And a lot can happen from that. Spending time with Bushmen and natural people, and I believe there's a Bushman and a Bushwoman inside all of us. And I think a lot of things come to you in moments like that, and one of them is this understanding that the human intellect or the human intelligence is infinite. We will never stop wanting to discover things. We are curious by nature, by default, and the information around us is constantly interesting and constantly inspiring if we take the time out to listen to it. And I have to pay tribute to many different people that I've learned from, and that are mentors or that have inspired me. And one of them is Sadhguru, and Sadhguru does have his critics, but he once referred to this, that the human mind will never stop exploring, and by nature of how the universe and how nature works, which is completely infinite, we will never be able to understand everything. So if that's the case, then we are all living in a state of confusion, which probably is fairly apt for the modern world. So even the goats agree. And so for what Sadhguru is saying is that we can't. We have no choice. We are confused. We'll be perpetually confused, and the only choice that we have is whether we are happily confused or miserably confused. And for me, I choose the latter, because there's a sense of wonder around that nature exists, that exists in nature, and the goat is again agree. And I don't have a problem not knowing. I don't have a problem with mystery. I can sit on this rock all day and just listen to the wind and watch the birds fly by. And for me, it's not relevant what kind of bird it is, or the biology behind it. It's the sense of endless wonder that nature brings, and to inspire a meaningful and a sustainable curiosity, which is absolutely essential now in our modern world, and our relation, and examining our relation with the planet moving forward. There's a lot of negativity, and there's a lot of pessimism. We all understand the state of the world that we're in, climate change. The other side of the coin, of course, is the social problems that we are facing, wars for territory, wars for resource, which for me is the other side of the coin of the split that we have with nature. And I choose not to dwell on the pessimism and consider a way forward. And for me, the way forward may not be where you think it is. It could be 180 degrees away from where you think it is, or it could be internally. It could be having a cup of tea with yourself in order to chart the way forward. And that's what nature and natural leadership brings me. And Marcel, I've got what I'd like to share with you is this is a pouch, and in it is a stone. It's a little gift that I picked up from our back garden in the bush in Africa. And there's a little stone in here, and it's not a diamond. It's far more valuable than that. So whenever you need to check out, or maybe spend a little moment of time with yourself, have some tea with yourself, make an appointment with life, then this will help you to find it. So it's a sense of timelessness. So that's a gift for Marcel.
Cool.
Okay.
It's okay, it's in the background, so you hear it, but it's fine. I think one of the difficult things to understand is that